Scream Warriors, we're all back here again on this Wednesday. I think my sleeping pattern is a bit all over the place, so I've lost track of the days, to be honest.
It is Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. So we were doing alien abductions last week, and we started doing horror, and we got very conspiracy theory-ish, but we're enjoying the conspiracy theories, so we thought we'd mix the two genres together, to be honest. So, as you can tell,
probably one of the bigger, one of the bigger conspiracy theories.
It could be said, yeah.
Fact or fiction. I'm just tweeting you guys about the live stream right now, so talk for a second.
No worries at all. There's a certain couple involved in the mix of this story that a lot of their stories make me think fact or fiction.
Who is that?
Oh.
Okay, we'll get into that.
Oh. I don't know. Badgers live in them. Badger? Yeah. Oh no wait. Is it foxes live in warrens? It's the Warren family. Them.
Thanks, because I was confused what animal you were talking about, so I'm not really aware of.
I want to say it's the majestic badger that lives within the warren, but I'm not 100% sure.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. So anyway, we are doing the Amityville Horror and all of the surrounding elements to it, because there's a lot of don't get me wrong, the movies are great. One particularly in the 2000s that had more abs in it than any man should ever have to see, and I loved it. It was great. With Ryan Reynolds and his 12 bazillion abs.
Yes, the Amityville remake, 2005, aka Ryan Reynolds abs. So that's what. I mean, the original movie will probably go down as maybe one of the most popular haunted house movies, I would think. Yeah, probably.
I'm just going to check our audio very quick while you do this bit of chat.
I spawned many sequels. I can give the rundown of all the sequels real quick to kill a little bit of time. Maybe. There we go. We have the Amityville Horror, which came out in 1979. Amityville 2: The Possession, which came out in 1982. Amityville 3D, which came out in 1983. Amityville 4: The Evil Escapes, which came out in 1989. Amityville Curse, which came out in 1990. Amityville: It's About Time, which came out in 1992. Amityville...
Best title for a movie ever. Ever.
It's about time for what?
Okay, man, how when Jason died in Friday the 13th, that wasn't the name of the final movie?
It's about time.
Friday the 13th.
Well, because I mean, they put the final or final something twice in that franchise. It still wasn't the fucking final.
The final chapter. We mean it this time.
Yeah. Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter. Oh, wait, there's 6 more after this one. But
I love you, Hollywood.
And most recently, we had Amityville The Awakening, which I think came out this year, I believe, or last year.
Nice. Yes. Yes.
It was in development for like 4 years before it finally came out. So, and we got the Amityville Playhouse, which came out in 2015, which I think may have been Amityville Horror meets Pee Wee Herman, and we had the Amityville Playhouse. So it was a combination of Amityville Horror and Pee Wee's Playhouse. So, which is no fact whatsoever, because you look like you're like, what the fuck you talking about, but
I'm half. What the fuck are you talking about? And half.
I want to see it, right?
Yeah. I didn't know I wanted to see it until I thought it was on the table, and now I kind of want to see it now for some reason. Do you think that could be?
You never know you want to see something until it's brought up.
Yeah, that's totally true.
But yeah, so that's the list of the many Amityville horror movies that the Lutz's family's true story inspired. So
I'm not looking at you at the moment because I'm just doing my end of the social media arrangement that we have, which means I should have a hash. Oh shit, that's not how you spell it. Amityville Horror with a hashtag. There we go.
You didn't see my air quotes there. So
well, you see, it was funny. I was actually just about to say I do have a funny feeling that there was this going on when you said that, because will we get into it? I suppose. What were we going to do? Kind of a movie review? I don't know.
I mean, we could. I would feel like we could talk about the movie.
Yeah.
And I know majority of our conversation is going to be about the true story and stuff that inspired.
I'd say
the movie.
if we how do I put this tastefully? I won't. I just won't put it tastefully. As much as I like Ryan Reynolds' abs, that version of the movie is even more sensationalized than the more truer to version movie from the.
You didn't think George Lutz was walking around with an 8-pack?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
That's the part I believe.
Here's the thing. If I wasn't so addicted to
the real life guy looks like Al Borland from Home Improvement.
He's yes. Yes. He fucking is. He is.
It's Richard Karn.
If I wasn't addicted to finding horror stories based in reality and then debunking them for the own safety of my sanity,
shitting all over them.
Sure, I'd buy he had 8 million abs, but I've seen 5 million fucking documentaries and news interviews with him. So no. No.
That guy did not miss a day at Dunkin' Donuts. We'll say that.
No, sir. He did not. Man can grow a good beard, though. I give him credit.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's a nice bearded fellow.
Solid beardage going on. So, anyway, for anybody who doesn't know in relation to the Amityville Horror, you're the guy with Wikipedia there. I'm a bit rusty on names. Dreyfus, is it?
What do you mean?
The guy who murdered all of his family. So
DeFeo. Ronald DeFeo.
DeFeo, thank you. Sorry, I had DE and for some reason I went Dreyfus.
I didn't know if you were talking about the guy who directed the movie, or that's why I wasn't sure where you were going for a second.
Yeah, I was going to say Richard Dreyfuss, and I was like, no, that's not fucking right. So within all of the craziness that happened in the Amityville Horror, there is a very, very true to life crime that did happen, where.
November 13th, 1974.
Yeah, a very true to life crime that I won't deny does have some very strange fucking elements.
The one thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, all right, I won't say that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. For all the, I kind of cut you off. Ronald DeFeo on the morning of 1974 of November 13th murdered all 6 members of his family in the middle of the night.
That he did.
At the house at the Amityville house that all these movies and stuff are based off.
Yeah.
And the thing I don't understand is how did nobody, like, after the first person was shot, like, how did nobody hear try to get away? You know what I mean?
Well, it gets crazier because it's not only did nobody hear, it. It's They were all found just lying, just face down in the bed. Obviously, with like they're like nasty injuries and stuff like that. But it's like it wasn't a small shotgun or anything by any means. It was a big double barrel.
No, it would make noise, and like another part is like there was no sign of like anybody trying to escape or anything, and it's like I'm assuming you're gonna hear, if not the first shot, maybe the second shot, but like, and there's a lot of other like reports later on that he like supposedly was handed a gun by some like woman with black hands, and like and then some people are trying to say that like it was his sister that like was murdering the family, and that he shot his sister in defense or something. There's a lot of different stories just going into that. Not even getting into the movie.
Unfortunately, like on that side of it, you have the testimony of what can only be described as a crazy person. Yeah. According to the official states of America, what can be described as a crazy person.
Yeah.
And other than that, all other witnesses related to the crime were murdered. Yeah. So
yeah.
It's hard. It's a scary thought to think it was the kid. But shit like that happens, man.
Yeah, and they were talking like I was watching one of the documentaries that you were suggesting to me earlier today, and that's where I was kind of watching that, and they were talking about how there could be like, they think there could have been like incest going on between one of the sisters and Ronald DeFeo, and that was possibly tying into something. There's just a lot of different aspects that are going into. Another one I kind of will touch on when we kind of start getting into the supposed haunting that the Lutz family encountered, that actually I think DeFeo's defense attorney tried to capitalize on what the Lutz family were saying, as opposed to trying to say, oh, well, he was being possessed to kill his family. That it was, they didn't make that until after the Lutz story came out a year later.
About DeFeo?
DeFeo, yeah.
Well,
as soon as the Lutz family kind of came out with their story, I mean, we'll kind of tie into going back and forth in both stories. The defense attorney for DeFeo, because what happened was after the Lutz family had their haunting, or they were in their house for 28 days and they were forced out because of all the stuff that was going on, the first person that they went to was DeFeo's defense attorney, because they wanted to know, like, they wanted to get answers from DeFeo about the house, I guess. And if he was having these same occurrences and stuff like that. And I think that's what led his defense attorney later on to try to use him being possessed as a way to, maybe to, I don't know what they were trying to use it for. Maybe for, they're trying to, the word I'm trying to think, I can't think of it right now. It's not coming to my head. But
as like an excuse?
Maybe as
an alibi?
Oh, it's an excuse, yeah, but like an appeal. Like they're trying to appeal his conviction, and they're trying to use that as the excuse.
So, like, well, you're saying that all of the supernatural, elements that revolve around the actual original murder are a byproduct of what the Lutz family were saying.
From what I was watching, the Lutz family, with the whole supernatural thing, they were going to they were trying to get information from Ronald DeFeo himself about if this was going on while he was living in the house before he killed his family.
Yeah.
So, and I think the defense attorney was trying to use this supposed haunting that the Lutz family encountered as maybe, oh, this is why DeFeo killed his family, because he was possessed by some kind of demon that was inside this house.
That's fun. Yeah. It's crazy how you can interlock stories and everything starts lending credibility to everything. It's just a lot of the preluding stuff I just found very strange afterwards. Like he was giving like if you look through a lot of the newspaper articles and stuff that came out in relation, like especially when they started interviewing the Lutz family and things like that. There's very few of those news reports that have corroborating facts between each one. Like the story seems to change depending on how they're talking, depending on who they're talking to. And then, like, I know Mr. Lutz, because his name's gone out of my head now, is saying they were misquoted and stuff, but like misquoted and a complete change in facts are two different things. So you're either accusing a lot of newspapers of just been like, oh, your version of the story is shit, I'm just going to add a bit of salt and pepper. Just to clarify that was salt and pepper is what I was doing. I wasn't like...
I thought you were just trying to get down and...
Skiing with him.
From what, like, again, like I'm basing this off of that the documentary I watched earlier today. Another thing was that, like, the Lutz family, from what they say, you know, you can only go by what people say because you don't know for sure, but they were saying they didn't even want to, like, do any of the interviews. They didn't want to come forward, all this stuff. But
they said it was your man's lawyer.
Supposedly, the defense attorney's lawyer was going to say, he said, okay, well, if you guys don't want to say it, we're going to frickin' harass your kids at school, because they were supposed witnesses too.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we don't want, you know, our kids getting dragged into this shit.
Which, so there's a weird, like, the lawyer's like, that conversation never happened.
Yeah.
You know? And,
like, and supposedly he was trying to write, he was writing a book, I guess, about the DeFeo murder.
Yeah.
The defense attorney was writing a book about the whole DeFeo murder and was trying to work in the whole Lutz
angle
haunting into the book, but they didn't want anything to do with it. But then, like, later on, like a couple years later, they went off and did their own with making the Amityville Horror, the actual novel, and made it just about the haunting and nothing to do with Bob DeFeo. Excuse me. So.
I don't know. Look, I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I do know, right? What I do know is I have a lot of issues post DeFeo murder.
Yeah. About the murder itself?
No. The murder is. You see, the thing with the murder is the murder has. What the thing that lets me believe anything, and it's what I like to call insurmountable evidence. Do you know? Yeah. There's a lot of very, very thorough documented paperwork of how that murder went down. Do you know what I mean? Now, obviously, the supernatural elements. Well, I mean, like, if the supernatural elements didn't come into his court or into his appeal equation until the Lutz thing, that makes me even a little more suspect.
Yeah. Because it was about, he He was convicted of second-degree murder in November of 2000. November of 1975.
Right.
December of 1975 is when the Lutz family moved in to the house. So it's only about a month apart from the conviction to when the family moved into the house.
It's very...
So there's that. I thought it was a year, but I guess he wasn't convicted till almost a year later, so I got mixed up. But I was figured that he was convicted around the same time in 74, but it's saying here that he was convicted of second-degree murder in November of 1975. So a year after the murders actually happened is when he was convicted.
And how soon were the Lutzes in the house?
In December, so a month after his conviction. So a year after the murders is when the Lutz family moved into the house.
Now, here's the thing when I'm like, that's something that makes bells go in my gut. It's just like, that's very quickly timed. And you were very well aware of the murder. And it's kind of like, why would you move into a house where 6 people got their heads blown off? Although I suppose with such a public, you could get a very expensive house for a lot cheaper if something like that had happened in it.
I think that's what it was. I think that the price for the house was what they were able to actually afford at the time, or thought they could afford during maybe with your conspiracy. And so I think the price was significantly lower than it would have been if there was no murder, which is why I think they were able to move in.
I feel there was, like, the house wasn't maintained because didn't 1 or 2 people live in it before the Lutzes? There was one family before the Lutz.
I don't know for sure. It's not really giving any information about anybody living in between.
I might be wrong with that. Like, here's the thing. The house wasn't going to be super maintained, and I feel there's probably a lot of issues with the fucking old house anyway. And while being able to afford to get a house cheaper due to a series of unfortunate events happening on the premises, what can be expensive is having to fix up an old house.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know. I think they just wanted out of the house and been haunted by the ghosts of the Lutz, the ghost of the victims, or the shinning, or whatever the hell's going on, was there quick out. Because there's some people that are saying they moved in there just so they could fabricate this whole story and get rich, which they haven't really. Like, I have to go by what I saw in documentaries and stuff that your man said about how much they made. Like, I don't have access to his bank account, so I don't know. But
to me, I don't know. I mean, that might be maybe a little far-fetched, because how would they be for sure know that they would be making the money?
It's not far-fetched as in I've seen people do crazier cons. It is far-fetched as in it's a very big investment to be making on a 50-50 gamble, maybe, if even.
Mm-hmm.
If even. Although if that was true, they timed it right. A year and a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So here I have some on Wikipedia. There's criticisms and controversy, little section here about certain facts that the Lutzes gave or whatever was in the book that may have been proven incorrect.
Yeah.
The claims of physical damage to the locks, doors, and windows were rejected by the people who bought the house in 1977. So the people that bought the house would have been probably after the Lutzes, because that happened in 75.
Also,
So
I'd like to mention about those people who bought the house afterwards, and the people who bought the house after those people who all moved out didn't get haunted once.
Yeah.
Not a one. They only got haunted by movie lovers and paranormal psychologists or paranormal scientists and those crazy mother lovers.
So the Barbara Cromartie, or however the name is, one of the people who bought the house, stated that that everything appeared to be original items and not repaired. So when they're talking about locks being broken and all this stuff being broken, according to her, when they moved in, everything seemed to be
original fittings.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was also a claim of cloven hoof prints in the snow outside. That was rejected by other researchers because weather records showed that there had been no snow in Amityville on that date.
Except for the Lutz's house. Remember, they're being haunted to shit.
Oh yeah, so the one little snow cloud just was over their house and just snowed. Okay.
My, how long your nose is, Mr. Lutz.
This is another. Okay, so this was one that I saw. I think, which is kind of like a. I don't know if this is really one that goes, holy crap, they definitely are lying. That there was changes that were made to the book while it was reprinted in different editions. So when it went from hardcover to softcover, or vice versa, there was different stuff, I guess, supposedly.
I'm gonna pull out a smoke for this because I'll tell you why. That's not just the books.
In the original,
it's not just the books. It's every goddamn newsprint interview, every goddamn radio interview, every goddamn TV interview. I can't remember anything out of the remote skeleton story of facts that has ever liquidly matched up 100%.
Yeah. It says in the original hardcover edition, Father Picarno's car is an old tan Ford. And he experienced an incident in which the hood flies up against the windshield while he's driving.
Oh, yeah?
In later editions, the car is described as a Chevrolet Vega before reverting to a Ford.
Ooh!
I mean, that's
upgrade.
Kind of like
upgrade. Nice. I've got money now. I've got money. I can't let them see I just have the Ford initially. Chevy.
That's something where it's like, okay.
That's me taking the piss, viewers, by the way. That's not... taking the mick.
That's a very minor, thing where it's like, they changed the car.
It fucking isn't, though. Like, why... If you're changing little pissy facts like that, what else are you changing?
Yeah. No, I get that part, yeah.
Don't bullshit
like
bullshitter.
What's to say if they're going to, like you said, they're going to change.
Don't bullshit a bullshitter.
Yeah.
I can smell a story and I can smell reality. Do you know what I mean? I can tell when I've been woven a tale. And they have lots of moments through the history of them describing the events that happened as that stuff's escalated. He's even admitted that he's added a bit of sugar and spice onto some shit.
So,
I thought you were frozen. Okay. Phew.
No, I'm trying to read to see if, so I know in 1977, George and Kathy Lutz filed a lawsuit against William Weber, which was the DeFeo's defense attorney.
Yeah.
And Paul Hoffman, a writer working on an account of the hauntings. They sued a whole bunch of people. They alleged misinappropriate of names for trade purposes and mental distress. They claimed $4.5 million in damages.
Ouch.
Hoffman, Weber, and Burton immediately filed a countersuit for $2 million, alleging fraud and breach of contract. So, and then those claims were dropped because of lack of evidence. And then blah, 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 blah. So, what this is this turned out to be really just a big money, like what I said before before we started recording. They got the Warrens involved into this, the famed psychic, which they made mention in one of the Conjuring films. They talked about it briefly, Amityville.
Call me an anti-horror, Mark, for a moment, right? But any time that fucking couple show up in anything, I'm instantaneously bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit, and bullshit. They're a professional. They're a professional bunch of paranormal investigators that are just very, very good, or should I say, were very, very good at getting people scared out of their fucking minds and getting them to move out of their fucking house and make money off it. I said it.
Yeah, I believe you. Like what I told you when we were talking before, I just feel way too many people got brought into this story, this true story, and had their own agendas.
It was a smorgasbord of directors, film producers, publishers, fuck knows how many news teams, Geraldo, what other TV shows were they on? They were on Sally Jesse at one stage. Everyone got involved, and unfortunately, whatever bit of credibility you might have been able to lend to a story, if it was just, this is what happened, some people came and investigated some shit, and then 15 years later or 20 years later, some dude heard about the story, made a movie. That's one thing. It's another thing when it turns into a total media circus, because false facts, not just by the Lutz or the Warrens, false facts were getting fucked around willy-nilly by everybody. Because the guys that were trying to discredit them were making up their own shit to try and unvalidate what they were saying. But they're also obviously sensationalizing the story a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more every time they told it. If you tell a story, facts are facts. That's it. Now, don't get me wrong. I know when you're telling a story and more facts might come to your head at a later date. That's one thing. It's when you're telling a story and facts that you've stated change to escalate the situation to sound a little bit better on television. Bullshit.
And the fact that they went into this so quick after the events happened. They were like, boom, we're doing this shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, like, too many people had their own agendas with this whole story. The defense attorneys trying to get, because the reason this is just coming to me while I'm thinking about it, the reason why the Lutzes didn't sign the contract for the book with the defense attorney was any certain amount of money that was made off of the book was going to Ronald DeFeo Jr. himself.
Yeah, give me a minute. I think I actually have.
Which they didn't want anything to do with. Which is, I mean, that's I'm not saying they're stand-up people, but that's kind of okay, that's that's kind of good that you don't want a freaking convicted murderer who killed his whole family getting money off of something that really didn't have to do with him to begin with. I mean,
one moment now.
You can intertwine the story with the killings. The Warrens tried to say that the reasoning behind why the house was haunted was because of the murders that happened a year before. Because there's so much negative energy because of the whole family getting wiped out in the middle of the night. That's why there's all this activity. So, like, they're so intertwined with each other, like we were saying before, that it's like, what caused what? Was it the demons that caused the Feo to kill the family, or the spirits, or the haunting, or whatever the fuck you want to say? Or was it the cold blood murder of a family caused all this negative energy to attach itself to this house, supposedly? I'm not saying I believe any of the stories that the Lutzes give, but I'm just trying to, And, like, here, while you're still looking up whatever you're doing...
Oh, no, I'm not. I, my friend, have been very cleverly showing the contract as you were talking about.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And here's the old Ronald J. Defoe. Truly yours. That's him in the attorney of.
So here with it, like, we kind of touched on this before a little bit ago. The family that moved in right after them, they lived in the house for years.
Yeah.
The first family that moved in after the Lutzes, and the husband said nothing weird ever happened except people coming because of the book and the movie. So there was no hauntings. There was just...
No, they were just getting haunted by actual people. Harassmented.
So...
Harassmented. I like that.
I really like... Oof,
save that word.
I really like... I didn't even hear what you said. I just like...
Harassmented.
Harassmented. Okay.
Yeah, the act of being haunted by humans.
TV's Playhouse secret word of the day.
Harassmented.
Gotcha.
It's half harassment, half haunted. Smash. Done.
Gotcha. I like it.
Thank you. I said that very happily, actually. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Okay, we're hitting the 40-minute mark, so I'd say.
Trying to see.
So I'm running on the assumption it's safe to assume you're on the fiction side of the fact or fiction logo.
I'm more on the fiction side. I just feel that, like I said before already in the episode, I just feel that there's just, like, I just feel there's too many hands in the pot, is I guess where I'm on with this. Like, too many people that try to either add or take away from stories because they have their own agendas that they were trying to get through. The defense attorney, he's trying to get money for his client or find a reasonable excuse to maybe have a reason why he did these murders, and he's trying to capitalize on this story that the Lutzes gave. And with the evidence that I read, or a couple of the evidence that I read, that contradicted everything that the Lutzes say, I just don't feel like... I don't feel like what they said happened. Now, could there have been some kind of haunting? Maybe.
Hey, dude, 6 people got shot to shit in a house. I'm sure something could be going on. Not to sound desensitive or unsensitive about it, but 6 people got murdered pretty brutally in a house. That's how stuff gets haunted. But like, what bugs me in the as you said in relation to fact and science start to meet the story, and it suddenly starts to unwaver the story. Like the Warrens came in and they said the place could be haunted to hell, or the place is haunted to hell or whatever. But then they brought other more scientifically based paranormal investigators, you know, as in actual machinery, and not just them standing there going, "Oh, I sense evil within the room," kind of guys. Were like, nope. Not a dial went blip blip blip, nothing.
Yeah, and they had there's so many different so many people went and investigated that house, and it's hard for me to believe that and then like they were saying, George Lutz said, well, what happened was mostly true. Okay, well now you're sitting here saying mostly true. What parts weren't true? So it's like you were saying, they keep backing up, they keep changing this. If it was the same story every single time they told it, wouldn't say I would fully believe it, but I could lean towards maybe trying to believe it some more. But if this story is changing so many times from the same people, it's like if something that traumatic happened to you and your family, how do you not remember every single detail? My head's gonna explode.
Here's several things that happened through the course of the research that I noticed. There's what you said, where he said it's mostly true. So that's instantaneous for me.
Read that off.
Bullshit line. In one of the documentaries I watched, he said, yeah, like some of the stuff got a bit sensationalized compared to what happened, which is another bullshit story. And then I'm pretty good at reading people's body language, and in the hoaxer fact, I'll put once this finishes rendering through after we go live, I'll put the link in the bio to that particular video. But there was one moment where he was being asked about how much money they'd made off off the whole thing in general, and he said, we made about $250,000 on the book. And then he said we made about another 125 to 30,000 off of the movies so far to date. And then there was this sigh of dismay, and just the look in his face as he said, although a lot of that money ended up just going on lawyers and stuff like that, and it was just this somewhat defeated look of, if I'd known all of the money was going to get wrapped up in court trying to prove what had happened, I wouldn't have bothered making this bullshit up in the first place.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why I get that vibe off it, but I'll put the link in. It's near the end of the video, where he's talking about his financial requisites from the movie, and it's just I'm pretty good at reading people's body language, and he seemed like a defeated man.
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly when that interview took place.
I'll see if I can. Yeah, keep talking there. I'll see if I can pull up the video here really quick, and I'll just see if I can get a date.
Because that's the one. That's the documentary that I watched today too. Was the fact Amityville horror or hoax.
Yeah.
It was done. It was done by the History Channel, and a lot of the stuff that we were talking about is where, like I said, that's where I got a lot of my information. So it is definitely a good watch. It's less than an hour. It's on YouTube, like you say. You're gonna put the link later on. but like you get to the point where he may have been defeated because of, depending on when that interview was done, it had been 20, 30 possible years, and it couldn't just be done with it.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I get that, but it's the way he's looking around as he says it. It's the timing in the sentence. It's the timing in the conversation when he decides to say it, and when that look shows. Like, micro expressions tell a lot about people, and they don't realize it. People's faces are like books if you know how to read them properly.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, like, it's in defense, like, what he's, like, but it's like, you know, if you're trying to say something's been true for 20, 30 years, you're just kind of like, you know what, I'm fucking done with this.
Yeah, but if you're trying to say something's true for 20 or 30 years, the cusp of your argument when you kind of break down looking like a broken man shouldn't be as you're mentioning the financial loss due to having to represent yourself in court so much.
And that's probably why they went and did that lawsuit, to try to get money from
there could also be
the defense attorney.
Like, them seemingly so disconnected in interviews near the end could literally just because they're just like, okay, this has gone way too far, and I'm just sick of talking about this fucking shit now.
And it was all about money. That's all they cared about. Because that's all they're worried. Like that comment you're saying right there, with him looking defeated after all this money that he had to pay because of that. And if this was actually, he was concerned about his family, he wouldn't give a shit that half the money went to defense attorneys and went to all these people to try to prove it wrong.
My family's safe. Well, hopefully I've proved myself true to some degree to some people.
I mean, I guess part of it is, yeah, you want to, like, have money for your family, but it seems like you don't give a shit about your family. All you care about is how much money you didn't make off of this damn book and this damn movie. And
just to clarify,
like, I'm getting all heated up.
Just to clarify, you seem like that. We're not saying you are like that. Just for the safety of the internet. I'm just gonna...
Getting a little verklempt over here.
Yeah. Ooh, Buzz needs to go in a timeout, I think. Musa. Look, it's... Regardless of how true the experience of the Lutzes are, it did blow off a pretty cool franchise of movies. So horror-wise, I'm very happy. They decided to be a bunch of shenanigan spinners, in my opinion. But if you're in my friends group that you're like, oh, I totally believe that everything that happened happened, you go into my very special group of friends that I call really. You're in my really pile? And I won't lie to you, the people in that pile, they're special people.
Yeah.
Really?
It's a great story. That's what I can tell you. It spawned off 85 movies, I think, to date. And
I recently heard a friend of mine was a flat earther, and I nearly passed out with fucking craziness. Like literally, I looked like a Wayne's brother. I was like, no fucking way! What the fuck?
If you guys want to leave in any comments and what your opinions are, we'll read them. We won't make fun of you.
No.
And
we also, if you have any, we're planning some sort of Halloween marathon. Some of the plans may have fell through to a smaller degree, but if you guys have any suggestions of some crazy shit you'd like to see myself and Buzz do within fucking reason over the Halloween period, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe. Not that you have to, it'd just be nice. And leave a comment below. And if you got a horror movie or you want to see myself and Buzz, if there's some Halloween craziness. What?
Amityville. It's going on in your house right now?
That's weird. No, look, I won't lie to you. I have a very heavy camera bag, and presumably gravity got the better of it, I would imagine. But it was oddly timed, so I'm going to go ring my solicitor and a newspaper now because it's on camera.
Do you want to tell them what we're thinking about for next episode?
Next episode, we were thinking about... What are we thinking about? Oh, so we've been doing a lot of, as you know, because you just watched an episode with us, we've been doing a lot of kind of fact or fiction, debunky stuff, Hollywood versus reality kind of thing. And a movie that's very passionate to myself and Buzz's heart, because we're both slasher genre fans, is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which we know is BS, but there is a very, very heavy founding stone of reality to that specific horror character and a multitude of other horror characters who are Norman Bates and things like that, but to name a few. And basically we're going to do an Ed Gein special, would you call it? Ed Gein expose, and Ed Gein, the horrors he did in reality and the greatness he's given to Hollywood.
Truth versus Hollywood. Kind of the real story about what happened, and kind of
we're going to tell you about all the crazy shit that Mr. Gein did, and then we're going to go through some of the big influences that Mr. Gein had and pick apart how he's wrapped into some of the characters through horror.
Story. Yeah.
That'd be pretty much it. As I said, Amityville wise, guys, if you agree with us, leave it in the comments. If you don't agree with us, feel free to leave it in the comments, but I'm never going to look at you in the same way again. And I'm not usually this blunt man, but this is just anything with the Warrens, dude. I'm just like... bullshit.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely check out our Twitter at Stream Warriors. I'll be updating pretty soon, hopefully, about stuff that we got coming up soon. Also, we do have an Amino, Stream Warriors Amino. Head over there. Talk to myself and Johnny and any other of our contributors that we have, and just talk about anything Stream Warrior related. And
how do they find you on Twitter, Buzz?
Definitely. What's that?
How do they find you on Twitter if they're looking to give you some shizzle?
Oh, well, my personal Twitter, if you want to tell me about how much you believe in Amityville, my personal Twitter is @BuzzSWPC. So that's where I can be. Where are you at?
I'm at the Gorecast. If you're looking for me, as some of you might know, I have a more horror movie podcast with a colleague of mine from Ireland that's also a TV show in American Horrors. So you can find us on Instagram at @_Gorecast, and then the Gorecast or Gorecast on... It's at the Gorecast on Twitter, and it's Gorecast on Facebook. And we have a Gore Club Amino as well if you're looking to talk Gorecast related.
I'm over there.
You're over there. We're all over there. We all just fucking bounce around on Amino.
We're all intertwined. We're all like the Ronald DeFeo and Amityville. We're all intertwined with each other.
Also, actually, this week on the TV show, myself and Giz are stepping out of our normal kind of... What's the best way to describe it? We're stepping out of our normal thing where we have a sort of a theme and we just talk about that sort of theme for the TV show. So we're doing a singular one movie review on the TV show on American Horrors this week, which is the new Predator. You might want to watch the review. You'll see the trailer drop during the week, and I'm sure you'll gather from the trailer what myself and Giz's opinions on the movie were. But that'll be on American Horrors 8:30 p.m. CST this Sunday. And if you are on Roku, make sure to use channel code AMHOR to download this beautiful fucking mug on it and watch us. And then watch some really good horror movies afterwards, because there's always good horror movies on.
Yeah. Yes,
I
we
think
are
that's me plugged to the
less
max
than
now.
a week away from Halloween, so it's that time of the year.
No, we're
Well, not Halloween, October.
I was going to say we're officially a week away from we're officially a week away from 35 AD.
Oh, okay.
35 years after Deadly. I'm officially moving. I'm no longer 34 and 12. I'm no longer 34 and 11 12ths. I'm officially 35 week. So while we're talking to you about Egg Game, I'm
actually getting close to mine too. Mine's going to be 2 weeks from Saturday. I'll be 33.
Dude, before we go, just audience members and anyone else who happens to watch this, a very weird happenstance is going on, I've noticed. Giz's birthday's today. All of my mates that I've met in the last couple of months, everyone's birthdays are in the next 2-3 weeks. Excuse me again. That's for donkeys.
My Fasha's birthday's in a week from Saturday.
My mum's birthday's the week before me, my brother's birthday's the week after me, and my dad's the very 1st of November.
Crazy. My ex-wife's birthday is the day after his, so hers will be a week from Sunday, which I don't care about. So
shit like that. I don't believe in star signs super... It's nice to think I might win the lotto or some bullshit like that, but I don't believe in star signs ordinarily, but shit like that always makes me a little bit like, huh, that's weird now that so many people in the same loop of star sign just kind of... So you're Libra.
Alright, so yes.
Libra too. Two very balanced, well thought out individuals here, contrary to how we come across on camera.
So it's time for the closing song, and now it's time to say goodbye to Buzz and all his friends. B-U-Z-Z Buzz.
I didn't know there was a song or lyrics. Buzz.
You've never heard of a Mickey Mouse song?
Jazz hands.